In today's class, we are going to discuss the most important topic in Unit 5, that is the electrical safety. As all we know that we were discussing all kind of medical devices. These medical devices we are going to apply on patient in order to diagnose their disease or treating their disease, right? So these medical devices we have to be designed in such a way in order to promote or in order to ensure the patient safety, right? So that is the reason here I have brought this particular topic in today class, that is the electrical safety. So in this class we will be discussing right from the basic, that is the definition of shock, and then we will have the what are the root causes or the reason for the person or the patient to get shock. And we have different types of shock, that is a micro shock and macro shock, that we will be discussing. And followed by we have safety precaution and management techniques to be followed in hospital settings in order to prevent this sort of shocks. And then finally we will wind up with what is the prevention of electrical hazards. Okay, so now let's start with what is the meaning of shock. When you heard this word shock, immediately comes into your mind is surprise, right? That is the everyday language we use this word shock. So for that, when you give surprise to your loved one or somebody else, immediately they will get shocked. That is the sudden emotional related things, right? So but here the electrical shock is something is different. Here we have certain current flow into the body. The all the mechanism will get disturbed, the physiological mechanism at one point it will get disturbed. So based on the severity of the current, that is the intensity or the path it follows or duration through which it flows, the severity will get varies. So even it cause the burns, or it produce some sort of injuries from minor to major, or even it will end up with death also. So this is the main outcome, that is a consequence of the shock when the current enters into our body. So this is the actual definition, but that is the what is mean by shock. So you can see this kind of shock everywhere wherever the power supply is being used, without any proper installation or a proper coverings or something, okay, proper earthing or something. But in medical side, that we have to be very careful or very conscious when we are using the medical device. We have to be checked thoroughly before using to the patient, because any minute leakage or any minute problem or issues will lead certain flow of current to the patient body, and then it will disturb, as I said before, total mechanism. It will shut down all the mechanism, and people life will get miserable. So that is the main thing we have to be very serious. So what are the root cause if you see in case of medical setups, that is in hospitals, in the sense maybe the poor design or servicing of device, that is the medical equipment side, we have to be very careful about what is the whether we have been followed a proper service protocol, the device is under calibrated or serviced. If there is any leakage current or anything, we have to be checked out beforehand before we are going to apply on the patient. And mishandling by the user also, the other cases that we have to be very careful, because whatever medical device we are using, the proper training or skills have to be provided to the concerned person, whether nurse or physician or the doctors, before using that medical device. So because the mishandling will also what will end up with current flow to the patient, so the patient have a high chance to get shock. And inadequate insulation in the equipment. So insulation property of the equipment is very important, because this insulation will prevent the current leakage. So we have to be ensured before purchasing any equipment, like whether the equipment has a adequate insulation properties. And then poor communication between therapeutic and patient also be the one of the reason for the person to get for the person to get the shock, because the patient they don't know what is happening in their body, or for what reason these medical devices have been placed in our body. So they don't have any idea, they will be very anxiety, they will be like very frightened, they have no clue about what happening around them. So in that case, they unknowingly or knowingly, if they disturbed any settings or any electrode placement, in the sense, or they touched any medical device, in the sense, automatically the the thing will get into us. So that is the reason the patient have to be educated in such a way, like these are the things happening, so we have to be very careful when certain readings to be recorded. Okay, so the proper communication has to be made between therapeutic and patient to avoid other sort of current shock happening because of this reason. And last one is the lack of safety protocols. So these are the thing where it's very important to follow the safety protocols in the hospitals, which includes proper inspection, maintenance, and improper environment. Okay, so like we have to do a proper inspection. That is, each and every equipment we have to be inspected based on their level or functionality of the equipment, whether monthly or weekly or yearly, and then we have to have maintenance, and followed by the environment ambient condition have to be ensured for optimum for the equipment to be work in optimum condition. So these are the few root causes for the person to get shock easily in the hospital's line. So next we will be discussing real examples. So here I have pasted few real examples of some damage caused or improper setups of medical devices. So this damage caused and improper setups which leads to or which have a high chance or high risk for the person to get shock. Because if you see any sort of these damage codes, immediately please discard, don't use it for the medical equipments or for recording the medical patient data or patient vital signs. And also if you are using exposed wires, in the sense also if the patient touch it unknowingly, immediately the patient will get shock. That also it's not encouraged to use such sort of exposed wires. And also the extension cord, if you are using for any case of emergency, means it's fine. But the extension cord for too many long wires, if you are using also, that we will drop out your efficiency of the equipment. So that's why the extension cord should not be used for permanent cases. We have to go with a separate junction box kind of thing. Okay, so these are the few example, and also I have other slide with the other two examples, that is to have overloading cases and water hazards cases of electric shock. So overloading also one of the main reasons. So if you have your if you are giving so many loads to one junction box or one main supply, in the sense one point it will get so overheated, and it will cause burst out, or it may have some fire or something. So we have to be like given load equally, so that we can avoid these kind of overheated problems. So and also if you are using any outlets near the water pipeline or something, we have to be use GFCI, that is a ground fault circuit interpreter. So without this, if you are using outlets near the water supply, in the sense it is extremely dangerous, the person will get a shock at any time. Okay, so these are the few real examples for the for I have pasted here for your better understanding for the possibility of getting shock for the person. So these are the things we have to be look very carefully if the to rectify these problems, so that we can avoid the shock easily in whatever the environment, whether it is external environment or in hospital settings. So in next class we will be discussing what are the different types of shocks which is mainly involved in hospital lines. Thank you.